Great Miami real estate deals rarely make it to Zillow. Call me if you're looking for access to off-market homes.
Hello again, friends, and welcome back to the Miami Book Hub. I'm your host, Adrian Betancourt, and I am really excited about today's episode. And I say that, I think, every episode, but I really mean it today, because today I get to have a great conversation with someone who I used to work with and I've long admired, and I only recently came to appreciate that he is also an author. In all those years I've known you, I didn't know that. So welcome to the program, Timothy Schmand. Tim, hola.
Javier, it's nice to be here. Thank you. It's great to be here. You have a lovely studio.
Oh, I built it myself.
I like what you've done with it.
Take no credit for that. Full credit to Miami's community newspapers for our lovely studios and for hosting us here today, as always.
Well, it's nice to be here.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, you and I used to work together. Mm-hmm. At the time, you were the executive director of the Bayfront Park Management Trust,
correct,
agency of the city of Miami, and I was at the Downtown Development Authority. I never knew that you had this side to you. Were you writing at that time, and have you always written, or was that something that came later?
So, I was introduced to writing by a young woman my sophomore year of high school. I was dating her, and I was at her house, and she said, I have to write a story for a class. I said, write a story, really? She said, yeah, I'm going to write a story. So I said, how? And she sat down next to me, and she wrote out literally, it was a dark and stormy evening. And, I'd always had like artistic desires, but I couldn't draw. I couldn't, I couldn't sculpt. So I thought, oh, I could do that. Yeah. So from that point on, I started thinking of myself as a writer and tried to live a life that a writer would live.
That's dangerous.
And it was. So
kind of Ernest Hemingway type of lifestyle.
So in high school, I started reading Thoreau.
Yeah, love it.
And my family owned a big plot of land out in the country. So at a certain point, I moved out there and built a cabin.
You went full Walden.
Yeah, I did. I lived alone in the woods for a while. And I had built a place so that I would have a home to go to write and to hitchhike around, and so that I always get back home. Oh. So I finished the cabin.
And you built this yourself, I understand, right?
So, okay. No, well, when you go to build a cabin, it's difficult to do it by yourself. So the farmers who lived down the road helped me haul the lumber out of the woods and get it to the sawmill. My brother and a good friend helped me hammer the place together.
But you didn't hire a developer. You built this.
We built it. And we learned how to build it as we built it.
Cool.
It's still standing, as a matter of fact. We're going there on this next trip. So built a cabin and started hitchhiking around because I had read On the Road. Mm-hmm. And so, I go from Thoreau to Kerouac. So I'm hitchhiking around and I get up to Nova Scotia. And I'm in Nova Scotia and I see Jack Kerouac's biography in those book racks that they used to have in gas stations where you could buy a book in a gas station. I bought the book only to discover that he never hitchhiked, that he rarely hitchhiked. But, hitchhiking for me was my way to get around. So I'm hitchhiking and then I go to school. And while I'm in school, my last semester, I meet a young woman and we decide to drop out of school and start hitchhiking around. So we dropped out of school and hitchhiked from Buffalo to Key West. Wow. 1979. And I remember coming through Miami in 1979. It was a Sunday.
Very different.
A sleepy little town. Yeah. I was thinking, wow, what an interesting city. And the guy who had picked us up was going to go scuba diving off Key Biscayne. Mm-hmm. So he dropped us at the end of US 1 in 95. The railroad tracks were still there. And the Daily Bread, original Daily Bread store was right there. And I remember going into the Daily Bread right there and buying those wonderful treats.
I didn't realize they went back that far.
Yeah. So anyways, hitchhiked to Key West, hung out in Key West and realized that it wasn't working out. Left there and went to New Orleans. And all this time, gathering stuff to be written about. And then eventually from New Orleans ended up on the West Coast and then went back to Buffalo, finished our educations. And then I took a job on a wagon train. So it was the 80s, and it was a program of the 80s where they would take juvenile delinquents and put them in high.
Is that what you were?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't. But these kids were like the worst kids around. They were given the opportunity of going with us on the wagon train or going to adult prison.
Wow.
So we would travel by horse and mule 30 miles a day. And the job for the kids was to teach them responsibility. So they had to groom their horses. They had to feed their horses, water their horses. They had to make their meals. They had to set up their camps. And we did that for a while. And then when that was over, I came back to Miami. And I've been here ever since.
Why Miami?
Because when we left Buffalo, it was November.
That'll do it. Yeah.
And when you think about winter and where you're going to be, and it was one of those jobs, it was an all-encompassing job. It was like joining the military without a gun. So you get rid of all the stuff that you own and just came down here and been here ever since. And I remember I was living in Hollywood at the time, but I was working at the corner of 29th Street and Miami Avenue teaching mentally handicapped adults how to be janitors, because I had been a janitor, a star janitor. And this woman said to me, "Are you going to the art festival?" I said, "Art festival? What art festival?" They said, "The Coconut Grove Art Festival." Yeah. I said, "No, but I'm going to go." And I went, and that weekend I saw Coconut Grove for the first time and moved to Coconut Grove shortly thereafter.
Yeah, the Grove is the best, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially back then.
And so I'm in the Grove, and the Grove was every generation thinks it's the best of the Grove. And every generation prior to you says, "Oh, you missed the best of the Grove."
This is true.
But it's always a good place. Well, anyways, I'm there and I go to the library and there's a sign up that says there's a writers group that meets on the fourth Tuesday of every month in the library. So I started going to that, and I ended up running the writers group at the Coconut Grove Library. It was like, and it was marvelous, because we're all young and writing, and some of the writers are still around today.
And the Grove still had some of that bohemian flair.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. There were still alums. There were still alums. You could go and get beer afterwards at alums.
So we'll get into the writing in a second, but just out of curiosity, as I said, I knew you as a public servant. How did you translate all of that into ultimately becoming a public servant at the Bayfront and then at the Lincoln Road Bid and whatever you did prior?
So I was teaching mentally handicapped adults how to be janitors, and the History Museum opened up, and they ran an ad in the newspaper looking for people to work in the History Museum. Okay. So I took a job at the History Museum. I was the weekend head security guard. So I'm doing the weekend head security guard thing. And one day the boss comes to me and I'm having a blast because, prior to that, I'd been just doing janitor stuff. And now I'm in a museum and, you're learning stuff you can't be in a museum. Sure. Like just the conversations were like magnificent. Well, anyways, he comes to me and he said, "I understand you're a writer." I said, "Yeah, I try." He said, "I'm thinking I need a new grant writer. Would you be our grant writer?"
Wow.
I said, "I never wrote a grant." And he said, "Well, maybe you should think about it. Get back to me." So I went and I talked to him. I said, "Look, I really like working here. And I'm afraid that if I don't work out as a grant writer, you're not going to let me work here. So maybe I don't want to do that." He said, "No, you want to do it. Do it." So I became the grant writer. Okay. And I wasn't bad. And then
pulled in some dollars.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, I was the associate director for marketing, publications, education, like the whole kit and caboodle. But I wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
And as someone who has the other job, you can't find time. You can't divorce yourself from the turmoil that's going on, no matter what your job is, in balancing those things. So at one point I just said, I got to stop. So I quit the museum and started writing grants for Fairchild, Science, Bayfront Park. And then you may recall Hurricane Andrew happened. Fairchild was, shut down. Science, they were really busy. Yeah. And Bayfront Park, they had all these things that needed to be completed for FEMA. So I just spent months maybe a year doing documentation for FEMA. And then one thing led to another. And as often happens in Miami, there's a federal investigation. And as a result of the federal investigation, there was a change at the top of the organization. And eventually I ended up on top of the organization.
Yeah. You rose quickly. And yeah, it's meant to be. And that's where we met.
That's where we met.
And I loved working with you. You were always so kind to me. And I love the yoga in the park, you know, and I'm not sure how much you did in Lincoln Road. I wasn't associated with that, but what a cool job that must have been too. So you had this kind of really cool life experiences, public service. All along, you're writing books. So which one did you start with?
So the first book was Taggart. So Bad Benny Taggart.
What inspired that?
I'd worked on a wagon train with juvenile delinquents, and Bad Benny Taggart is like a juvenile delinquent. And
based on someone you know, or you
no, just I put them together and made a character out of them. And I did that. And then, you know, when you finish a book, you send it out because you've just finished a book, you send it out. And this is when I was younger and more, you know. And then I started Just Johnson as a joke, just to keep working, because I had read Tony Hillerman. He said that the easiest book to write is a detective book. So I thought, well, I don't know.
That's what you do if you're an author in Miami, right?
Right. Well, but I said, I'm not, it can't be a detective. It's got to be something else because I'm not that bright. And so I made him a delivery man, and he's a delivery man for the guy who inherited Meyer Lansky's thing in the mob. Oh. And so he drives the guy, the fat man, who is the character, around, and he does deliveries for him. And in the first book of his stuff, it's the London, what's the name of that book? The London Delivery.
The London Delivery, yeah.
The London Delivery. So he is tasked, and this is back in the 90s, tasked with taking a letter to the Cuban embassy in London to try and get some thing going. And it's before Brothers to the Rescue gets shot down. As a matter of fact, Brothers to the Rescue happens as a result of Johnson delivering this letter.
In your book.
In the book. So, and that was the second book. And then the third book, and I'd been writing all along, do you remember the Tropic magazine?
Yeah.
So the Tropic magazine, they would publish, sometimes I'd have 2 stories in the same edition, and they just published everything. And when you have a place that is going to take your work and send you a little cash, nice. You're very motivated.
Still looking.
Right. No, those days, I think those days are gone.
Probably.
But you're very motivated when you find it. And I was very motivated by the Herald and Tropic magazine. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
That's a history. And what are you working on now?
So,
any sequels, or are these all just like
one-offs? So, okay. So, I started a sequel to Just Johnson. So that's like lingering out there. Okay. And then I just finished, and they had sort of excerpted it or serialized it in the Jitney. I did a thing called Just Another Thursday in Miami about a guy who works in a park and goes down to City Hall to get some business done. And then what happens on that day. And of course, what happens on that day is not what we expect to have happen on that day. So that was serialized, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it because it's been serialized. So nobody really wants to publish something that's already been published. Right. But I'm fond of the piece. You know,
you ever self-published, or are these all traditional published?
So what's traditional? So
someone picked it up, maybe paid you, put it out for you.
So Jitney, I'm running Bayfront Park, and I'm doing yoga in Bayfront Park. Mm-hmm. And there's this guy who comes to yoga every day with his dog, JJ, and I start talking to JJ, and JJ and I get to be pals. And he says to me, he said, "You know what I do?" I said, "No, what do you do, Jay?" He said, "Well, I teach, but you know, do you have any books, Tim? Do I have any books?" You know, yeah, Jay, I got a couple of books. Yeah. And so JJ published Just Johnson, which is solely a Miami book. first because he likes Miami
Yeah,
books.
that's what he does. Yeah.
And
shout out to JJ and the Jitney, by the way.
oh yeah, no, JJ is my man.
Yeah, episode 3 of the Miami Book Hub, he was on, so check it out.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably, so Janet and I, my wife Janet and I, are going to Great Britain this year, and we'll probably see JJ in Edinburgh because they do a thing in Edinburgh. The name escapes me. The Fringe Festival.
Right.
And last year we saw Jay there, and I suspect we're going to see him there again this year.
So you go over here?
We go whenever we can, which isn't every year. But this year we're going to be in Great Britain and around the Fringe, so we'll probably get over.
Remind me what it all entails. I've heard of the Fringe, but I can't remember.
You can't even imagine.
It's just madness.
It's like. Have you been to Mardi Gras?
Yes.
Okay. Think of Mardi Gras for the arts.
Oh wow.
I know, where everybody from the street level, from street performers to the grandest of English theater, and everybody in between, and they'll do an app where you go, what's close by me now, and they'll say 30 feet from you, there's a comedian going to start in 20 minutes in a bar. So if you get a chance, go to Fringe.
Yeah, I'll have to
in Edinburgh. And Edinburgh is like the most civilized English-speaking town I've ever been to.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be welcome there.
No, you'll be fine. That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy how Edinburgh is just really, polite.
Cool.
And if you get tired of that, you can go over to Glasgow and get beaten up.
Yin and yang, right? I'll add it to my list. So listen, you were going to, I think, read an excerpt from.
Sure.
Weren't you?
So, it's always hard to decide what to read because there's so much. And then how do you say, oh, this is the piece? But this is, I don't mind.
Strikes your fancy today.
I don't mind this part. So I won't explain anything. I'll just read it and
jump in.
After 60 days in the penitentiary, Benny arrived at the juvenile detention center like a major leaguer being sent down to the minors. A light snow like confetti at the end of a parade fell as the prison transport van stopped outside the center's gates. Work crews paused, basketball games stopped, and Benny could feel all the boys were staring at on him as he hopped down to the pavement. He knew what the boys were staring at. The county's rule about transporting penitentiary prisoners, full shackles required, no exceptions, made Benny bad. The guard and the van driver stood on either side of him and gripped his elbows. He jerked his arms away. Jesus, you don't have to touch me, he said, staring straight ahead. The driver said, no, Taggart, we don't. We like to. Everybody wants to be funny, he thought. Screw them. They don't have to touch me. I'm not going anywhere. Jerks. Benny could see his breath and felt the chains on his wrists and ankles growing cold. He turned his head slowly, letting his eyes fall across the boys on the other side of the double chain-link fence. A tall black guy, slick with sweat, a steamish vapor rising from his hospital green coveralls, stood on the basketball court, pumping the ball up and down in a cold, slow dribble. The tinny sound of the ball against pavement echoed off the center's buildings and annoyed Benny. He laid his eyes on the boy and held him in his stare. He pressed harder. The boy stopped bouncing the ball. Let's go, Taggart, the guard said, squeezing Benny's elbow. The chains running from his waist to his wrists and ankles made a jingling sound as he moved in a slow stutter step along the fence. He made walking look more difficult than it was, knowing that to look bad was to be bad. Beyond the fence, gray cement buildings rose like tumors through the snow. Corridors of chain-link fence connected the buildings. He smiled as he passed through the first gate. It was like entering a playground. All the buildings had windows. The fence, he thought, I can see through a fence. Then he turned his head left and right, looking through the juvenile detention center's fences and off to the surrounding fields. I can do this easy, he thought, easy. As he approached the building, Benny saw his reflection in the door's wire-run glass. He saw an ugly boy, dressed in oversized blue coveralls. The boy had no eyebrows. His face looked peeled and raw, the remnants of a scab hardened above his left eye. His hair sprouted in clumps. Benny looked away from his face. His head itched. He could scratch it. He couldn't scratch it because of the shackles. The door made a buzzing noise. The guard pulled it open.
Tim, you can write. I love that.
Yeah.
I always feel so insecure about my own writing when I hear
Never
others.
do. Never. See, because here's the thing.
Can't help it. I think every author does this.
No. The thing about writing is it's expressions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And, we're working to get ourselves out there, to get something in us there.
So did I pick up on the right influence? That was very Ernest Hemingway. Is that one of your
I don't know. So, okay. So, when
who are your authors? I mean, who
do I
draw influence from, or who do you like to read?
Who do I think of? And I can never remember his name. It's a thing that happens when you're older. Well, anyways, he was sort of a comic writer who, as he aged, people stopped liking his work, and he eventually blew his brains out. But he was like in the same time as like Vonnegut and Harrison. Can't remember his name, but it'll come to me eventually. But he would write these songs he wrote a book called Trout Fishing in America, that the fishing magazine wrote, this book has nothing to do with trout fishing in America. Richard Brautigan, we got him. Richard Brautigan, I would read his stuff. He would write poetry like Why the Pill is Like the Spring Hill Mine Disaster. I mean, it was just, and he was crazy.
Have you dabbled in poetry?
Of course. How do you not? How do you not?
Right?
I mean, we were all adolescents once, right? We've all had our hearts
all fallen in love. Yeah.
Right. Had our hearts broken more than once,
Have you published them?
Trying to think.
You should put together a little book.
No, okay. So you know what the problem is? I know poets. Oh. And, I don't want to say to them, hey, what do you think of this? And have them say, oh, come on. Tim.
You just told me not to think that way. So, you have to follow your own advice.
We're talking fiction. We're not talking poetry. Because, as a poet friend of mine just told me recently, he said, when someone starts a poem about their grandfather, I think I got to go to the bar. Right. And then he writes a poem about his grandfather, and it's all about his grandfather farting when he gets up out of his chair, which is not the poem that you think people would write about their grandfather.
So I had Nicole Taltman on the program. She's the county's
sure, I know
poet laureate.
Yeah.
But for those who may not. And I had the audacity, I think the chutzpah, to actually write a poem for her. And it was very kind of Dr. Seuss. My poems are very simple and have that cadence. And I'm like, I felt so awkward, because here she is. She's a noted, damn good poet, but I did it anyway. I don't think it's going to win any prizes.
Well, it's okay. Like for the moment, like the thing about, so when I think about poets, I think they can't help themselves. And if you can't help yourself to poem, you have to poem. And those people who are true poets have like a body of work that expands their entire life, where I do fiction and I stop writing fiction for a while and I start writing again. I don't feel compelled every day to get there and write down.
Obsessive.
I write every day, but I don't write the same way poets write every day.
Right. So what is your writing style? Do you have one? Are you a morning guy, an evening guy? You write in fits and starts, or are you disciplined?
So get up every day and do the pages that came from The Artist's Way. Have you heard of The Artist's Way? It's a book. And I recommend it just like when you find yourself with a free time to read The Artist's Way. And one of the things they recommend, and there's all these things they recommend, but one of the things they do is they recommend that you get up every morning and write 3 pages in a journal. 3 pages of whatever, horse, whatever. And every day I get up, first thing, after the coffee is made, write 3 pages of absolute garbage. I don't want, first, the handwriting's so bad you couldn't read it if you wanted to. And second, it's nothing. And then I go and do yoga for an hour. Then I come back, get some more coffee, and go in and write. And I can write for 20 minutes. I could write for 2 hours.
Freehand, or you?
No,
typing it.
Okay, so one of the things that Richard Brautigan said, he's back. So I started writing a long time ago before the computer. And Richard Brautigan's advice to the young writer was get the best typewriter you can afford. See, I like a guy like that. But anyway, so then I write whatever I'm working on, because it's been my experience, and this isn't everybody's experience, but it's my experience that even when you're stuck, if you can keep just moving words around, just keep moving the thoughts around, So people who paint with oils have to paint every day because the oil is still slick and they can move it around.
Right.
And I think about writing every day is the ideas are still fluid. I can move things around and come to conclusions that, I didn't.
Before it's baked in, yeah.
Right.
Interesting. I like that. Okay, so it's your writing style. We'll say that's your advice to writers. What is your advice on the business side of it? So publishing, I don't know if you have a literary agent.
So I've had
promoting the book. What?
I've had 2 literary agents, and neither of them have ever done anything other than got me to be able to say, I have an agent. Yeah, I have an agent, and I think
I gave up on that real quick. By the way,
but I think to people who write, first, if you're writing to get rich, get another job.
Mm-hmm.
If you're writing because you're compelled to write, well, I apologize. You probably won't get over it. But find the place that you think you want to see your work and send it there. And there's plenty of places you can see your work. But, I've been reading lately. In fact, the New York Times just had an article about it, about the paucity of people reviewing books anymore. So people aren't reviewing books in the traditional publishing world. But so you're starting a magazine. The Jitneys out there doing what they do. Goodreads is like opening an entire world of readers around. So there are ways to do it. You just have to find your niche. And if you become a millionaire, my congratulations. Because I just read
spread the wealth.
You deserve it if you found
that's
because you have to capture lightning in a bottle. You have to catch those things that in that moment, like you've got the zeitgeist and I'm giving it to you. So enjoy. Or see, I'm going to say this. It's really painful to write.
Yeah.
It's really annoying to write. It's really like work to write. I'd probably have more fun being sort of a transitory joy that you find from doing nothing. I probably have more fun if I didn't write, but
you have to.
To read the finished work, to know that like I started with this, like whatever it was, and it became that, even if it's never been published, it became that.
Mm-hmm.
It brings me great joy.
I'm obsessed with my characters, and the longer, the more I read it, I've probably read my book 43 times and continue to find things that I finally turned it in. Is it done? Mm-hmm. No, but I turned it in because I had to stop at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have my book launch in 3 months and it's got to get printed. So there are probably many other things.
And how long have you been working?
Should continue to change. About 2.5, probably 3 years at this point. I stopped at some point in between, get distracted. Right. But I couldn't let it go. I finally got back to it and finished it, and then gave up on the traditional publishing journey. I just I don't have the time for this. Like you said, I have a full-time job. I have a family. So I'm just going to self-publish. There are great resources out there now. And just try to promote it as best I can and see what happens.
And have you sent it out for other people to read?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But not a lot. And so what is it? The ARC, I think, right before you publish, you send it out. And I haven't quite taken that step yet. I'm really insecure about it, to be honest. I have to get over that.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the easiest part of it all is the writing part. The hardest part is like promoting it.
Yeah.
And like going out and talking. Hey, I wrote a book.
It's awful.
It's so
you have that feeling of vulnerability too.
And what you want and what you need to find are third parties who will look at the book and say, yeah, this is a good book.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
By the way, I think you got one of those, right? What is this Calvino prize I read about?
Oh, so
don't be shy.
No, so it's the 1999 Italo Calvino Award for short fiction, and it was done by Invisible Cities Press out of Vermont, and it was a competition where you send in a story, and I sent in a story, and the judge, wish I could think of her name, liked it the best, and it's the name of the story is the Great Deadly Malpus, and Deadly Malpus is an undersized cowboy who kills for a living,
This is a thing?
Mhm.
You didn't make this up?
I made this up.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard
So
this.
he kills for a living, but he kills things that you love and can't bring yourself to do yourself.
Oh.
So he doesn't kill, he kills for money, but he kills things that you love.
Interesting.
And it's kind of a funny story. And are you familiar with Italo Calvino? He wrote like supernatural stuff. Like he was an Italian guy, and he wrote this really crazy fiction. I had studied him in college. And so when I saw that there was an actual Italo Calvino prize, I thought, well, The Great Deadly Malpas slides right into that category.
So, and is that published anywhere that we can find?
No, see, that's the problem with the gate.
I need to get your website, man.
So no, because here's the thing. As soon as you put it on the website, you can't do anything else with it. Nobody else is going to take it. It's still a good story.
Yeah.
And so I won the award, and the guy who did the award put together an anthology. And he said, I really like the Deadly Malpas thing, but it won't fit with the anthology we put together. I need something supernatural, Tim. So he said, can you give me something supernatural? So I wrote a story that was more supernatural.
There you go.
And it's in the anthology. So, and the anthology, this is like, it's those little things that like keep you coming back, right? So the anthology was something of a big deal. And the first time I got to read at Books and Books was because of the anthology. And this was back in 99, 2000, when it was the old Books and Books across the street.
Oh, yeah, across the street.
Yeah.
Shout out to Books and Books. Was there last night. Lovely event. You would, I think, enjoyed it. The new Civic Path. So we're in your old hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, we're out of time, so I'm going to give you the last word. Where can people find your books or learn more about you?
So they can find their books at Amazon, where most people find their books. I have a website, timothyschmand.com. I have a Substack at Timothy Schmand. You're welcome to do that. And if you see me wandering around, don't hesitate to just come up and say hello.
Yeah, where can they find you doing yoga these days?
So I do yoga. Well, I'm leaving town right now, but I do yoga every day at Las Olas Yoga in Fort Lauderdale.
Are you in Fort Lauderdale now?
Yeah, I moved to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
So I was going down Northeast 2nd Avenue 2 years ago, and I saw this sign up that said, and traffic was horrible, as you might imagine. And I saw this sign up that said, hard hat and safety goggles required. And I thought, that's it. I'm out. And after 40 years in Miami, we've moved to Fort Lauderdale.
Which is undergoing its own major transformation.
Oh, no.
It's unbelievable what's happening in Fort Lauderdale.
Right across the street, sort of, Related is putting up a 900-story building. So
it'll be Brickell
right.
in a couple years.
It is.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, listen, thank you for being on the program. Thank you for being a good friend all these years.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
I'd love to have you back. So as soon as you publish your next book, come on back and we'll talk about it.
All right. Thank you very much.
And folks, I want to thank you for watching the program. If you like it, please like it, subscribe, share it with friends and family. I want to thank Miami's Community News again for hosting us and producing the program. Special shout out to Emily behind the camera over there. Hi, Ems. So we got some great guests lined up. So keep on coming back. And until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and stay curious, Miami.